SEO content briefs are an important part of the content creation process. I'm going to walk through our exact template and the steps we take to create SEO content briefs. And again, the goal of these documents are to supply your writer with all the necessary information in order to give yourself the best chance of ranking. A lot of times where we see issues are when we just send writers a few keywords and ask them to write something. We're not giving them enough information for them to have the best chance to succeed. So the goal of this document, again, is to supply our writer and our SEO team with the information needed so we can have that best chance of ranking. So our process starts with keyword research. So this is where most people are going to stop. Many times we see companies just grab 3 to 5 keywords and then again ask their writer to go write an article targeting that. This is our first step. Now there's many ways you can do this. We're not going to go super deep into just keyword research today, but once you know generally which keywords you're going to target, one of the ways I like to determine the additional keywords we can target is by using Ahrefs or SEMrush. If you go to Keyword Explorer, you could type in your main keyword that you're thinking about writing an article on. And then what I like to do is scroll down to the bottom and look at actually the top 10 ranking results. And one of the best ways I found to group keywords is to actually just look at the top 3 to 5, click on keywords here, and look at the additional keywords they are ranking for. So once we get back in here, we'll see the list of keywords the number 1 article is ranking for in combination. So we can see SEO report template, reporting template, examples. We can see position here. So we're starting to get a good feel for which keywords we could potentially target with one page. So usually what I'll do is I'll go through the top 3 to 5 listings and start to get a good feel for the keywords we're going to target. Another tool I really like is Keyword Insights. So this is a good tool if you're not sure if 2 keywords are the same or you could target with one article. You could run it through this report, and what this report will do, it'll show you the URLs that rank for both keywords and the percentage of the similarity. So in this case, for SEO report template and SEO report, it's only 44% similar. So 4 out of the 10 results rank for both, and we can see those exact ranking pages here. So we have Backlinko in position 2 for a report template and in position 6 for SEO report. SEMrush is in position 1, and then they're in position 5 here. What's interesting to me about this is if we look on the left, all of these articles are pretty focused on templates and reports. But on the right, we actually have tools and analyzers in the top 5. So which kind of makes you think the intent of SEO report could be a little bit different. We're not really sure. Does someone want a report tool to do some type of analysis, like an audit tool, or do they actually want a template, which you'll see the bottom 3 results are templates. So it's kind of an interesting case. We could try and target both with one article and gauge it, or you could potentially have a strategy where you do the report template article and then you build some type of tool to target just a broader term. But this is a quick way you can analyze if there's overlap. Now, if it's a high percentage, like 80% or more, that's usually a good indication. You only need one page to target that. So once we have keywords selected, then what we'll do is we'll pull related keywords or semantic keywords. We usually download those in a Google Sheet. There's a lot of tools you can use for this. We're using MarketMuse right now, so we'll export this data from MarketMuse. But you could also use ClearScope, Surfer, really whatever tool you like to use. The concept here, though, is most keyword research tools are just going to give you these same words, basically just rewritten. What these types of tools do for semantic keywords is they give you those related words and topically relevant words. So in this case of SEO report template, the words like data and metrics, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, all of these words that you would expect to see in an article about this topic. So it's a really good way to avoid just the older style of SEO of just keyword stuffing and start to thinking about all the topics we want to cover in this article and then map that out and make sure you're actually writing about these various things. It does give suggested distribution amounts. So there's some words they recommend to use 10 plus times, some 3 to 10, some 1 to 2. That's more of a guideline, not an exact science. It's a good indication. If it says 10 plus, it's probably important. And the ones that are marked 1 to 2, I like to comb through those and see which ones are actually going to add value to the article. I don't like to force words like this into the article, but it's a great starting point that your writer can look through. And then you could do an assessment after the content is written to see how you did. So to get this report in MarketMuse, you're just going to go to Optimize and then put your keyword in and run the report. And then we like to export it out of this tool and put it into a spreadsheet. You could work with it directly in the platform, but this is the same data that we saw in the spreadsheet. We also get competitor data too on the top 20 articles. So that's something I'll also download here. And what I like to do here is I like to comb through the title tags and just look at the angles and the way people are approaching this. What I really like here that Ahrefs is doing is the inspired by SEO experts. I think that's a really good way to get a better click-through rate than some of the competitors who are all pretty similar, just talking about that there's a template included, samples included. That was the one thing that kind of stands out looking at this. Now you can see all the URLs. I like to gauge content score and word count as well. So MarketMuse will give you a recommendation on the word count, but what I also like to do is just look at the average. So the average of the top 3 is 2,100. Then I'll typically look at the average of the top 5. It's pretty similar. And then we can go top 10, slightly less, but also similar. And then we can look at page 2, and we can see page 2 in general has a lower word count. Now part of it could be because it's PDF. So let's remove that for a second. No, pretty similar actually. So again, so we have a good feel like we probably need to be around 2,200 words, but you can also see individual articles that are longer. So same thing with content score. Sometimes I like to see what's the average of the top 3, the top 5, 10, and then actually what's the page 2 average. Sometimes what you'll see is the content score is much higher in certain areas. Content score, again, it's something MarketMuse is going to give you. I know all the tools have their own version of that, but it's more meant to be a quick way to gauge how heavily optimized some of the articles are. So now that we have this, I like to include some information on what the URL is going to be. The main reason we did this is what we found was articles end up getting uploaded with URLs that aren't well optimized or well thought through. So we like to have that outlined up front. So that way, whoever's uploading the article knows what the URL should be. We don't do the title tag and the meta description in a content brief anymore. I prefer to do it after the content is written so we could have it closely relate to the actual content of the article instead of supplying it up front like we used to do. So that's something we've actually removed from our template. Then we get to internal links to and from. So we want to start mapping those out before the article is written. External links, same thing there. I like to map out the assets we're going to use. In this case, we wanted to do a bunch of screenshots of tools. And then we also wanted to do embed our video into this article. We have a video on this topic that we're going to embed. So I like to map that out up front. Then we do a quick analysis just on difficulty levels. So I like to note what the keyword difficulty is and what the average domain rating and minimum domain ratings are, just to get a feel like if we're in line with that. After that, we get to more of the search intents and content guidelines section. So for the analysis, what we're doing here is we're actually going to search the keyword, and then we're going to scroll down and start to see what type of content is showing up and what do we feel like users really want when they search this keyword. In this case, our assessment was it's mostly going to be people that actually want to download templates. So they want something really actionable. I think when we started looking through the articles, people definitely want to have a template they could just take and use, but they also want to learn what goes into a report and what kind of metrics and KPIs they should be tracking and measuring. So that's the type of thing we want to outline here. We're also going to outline the types of content. In this case, it's all blogs or template landing pages. So we like to note to make sure we're kind of in line with that. And then overall, is it more informational or commercial intent? The SERP features we started adding more now because sometimes we will actually target these. In this case, there's ads, there's people also ask, and there's a video pack. We went ahead and targeted the video pack here. And ultimately what we're trying to do is rank in the video pack and then eventually get our blog to rank. And what we found is with our blog that these results are pretty competitive. It's websites that have way higher domain authority than us. But we are able to get onto the first page through YouTube and then ultimately try to get our blog to rank so we have 2 listings here. But noting that there's a video pack and then trying to target that on YouTube is something we like to know when we're doing the content brief. Call to action as well. We like to note what are we actually going to do for an offer in this blog or page that we're developing. Content briefs sometimes we'll often do them for blogs, but we do them for service pages, product pages, industry pages. You could really do these for any type of page. Blogs and resource pages are probably the most common, but we want to know what we're actually trying to promote in this article. In this case, we have a lead magnet to download a report template. So we're just noting that here. It's important to think about that. Like, what are we trying to do with this post? Maybe there's no lead magnet or a reason not to do any content offers. But in this one, the intent was pretty lined up with people wanting to download a report template. Funnel stage is optional. We just kind of like to note where we feel like these people are falling in the funnel. We do that more for content planning because we're trying to put out content at various stages. I don't think that's critical though. Content score we just pull from our tool Market Views, but you could grab that from anything. Not necessarily critical either. And then word count is. It's important to have some type of data-driven approach to word count. At least that's what we found. And we'll use typically Market Views, what they recommend, but also our own analysis of actually like figuring out what the averages are at different stages of the first page and the second page. Now, once we have that, our last step here is really just making the outline. Now, for our outlines, we'll include a rough idea of the sections we need and then some editorial notes on the side with some more detail. That way the writer, again, is getting all this information and they're getting a rough outline as a starting point before they start their process and before they start writing. So we found just the success rate of ranking is much higher. What we used to do is we used to provide less guidance to writers, and then after the fact and after the content was written, we would have to do a lot of work to fix it or make adjustments to it. Where it's much easier if we just outline that up front. Then the work on the back end ends up being just title tags, meta descriptions, and then implementation. So the way we build outlines, there's tools and stuff that can help this that'll automatically generate outlines. We don't like to start with AI outlines. We prefer to start by analyzing the search results and then use AI to fill in gaps. So the way I would make this outline is, and there's tools that will just scrape this information so you don't have to do it manually, but we'll show the manual method, is actually just clicking through the pages on the first page of Google that are ranking. I'm going to use this plugin SEO Meta in one click and basically grab the outline of this page. So if I click on headings, I can copy and paste their outline into a Google Sheet. Then I'm going to do that for the top 3 and even the top 5 results. Once I have everybody's outlines, I can start to find common themes in sections that everybody's including. So that's usually a starting point. If there's sections that every result is including, we're probably going to want to include that in our article. But where we take it a step further is then after we find the common sections, we're going to look for headings that only a few of the competitors have and work those into our article. And then the final step is, and this requires some knowledge on the industry or just some more research, is what sections have none of the competitors mentioned that we can add to our article so we have a unique approach and we're actually adding value on top of it. So that final piece is really important. It's one thing to replicate what's already done, and then another to add in something that only a few people have done, but adding that third layer of like what's something new or a new perspective we could add to this article that no one else has done yet on the first page. And by doing that, we now have the basics covered. We're doing what everyone else is doing, but we're also adding on top of that and adding something additional. So there's different ways of doing this, but this is kind of our starting point. And once we have the core outline, then we'll usually run it through an AI tool and ask the AI tool for additional sections that we might not have thought of that could add value to the article. So we use AI as the final step of the outline process and not the first step. We found that has allowed us to make outlines that allow us to rank a lot easier instead of using AI first. Really like taking what's already there, what Google is telling us is the best pieces of content already on that topic, taking what they're doing well, adding something unique, and then adding the AI piece on top of it to find some other sections that we didn't think of. So that's pretty much our end-to-end process here. Again, the main goal of this is we found when we send just keywords to our writers, the result we get back tends to need a lot more work than when we actually go through this full process and provide the writer with all this additional information. We end up having articles that don't need a ton of optimization work to rank. So ultimately, this is a process you can use and build on top of and take some of what we're doing and incorporate that into your own process and workflow. So we're giving away this template. Our newsletter that's going out this month is going to have this content brief template in there. And like I said, you can take our template, you could use it as is, but where the real value is taking it and building on top of it. So there might be certain things that we're doing that you don't need to do or don't fit into your workflow. Feel free to remove those. And if you have additional ideas that we haven't thought of here, add them in and feel free to make the template better. So this will be going out in about a week. And if you want a copy of the template, just download it in the description below.